أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. وقال الملك ائتوني به يستخلفه لنفسي فلما كلمه قال إنك اليوم لدينا مكين أمين. قال اجعلني على الخزائن الأرض إني حفيظ عليم. وكذلك مكنا ليوسف في الأرض يتبوأ منها حيث يشاء نصيب برحمتنا من نشاء ولا نضيع أجر المحسنين ولا أجر الآخرة خير للذين آمنوا وكانوا يتقون. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلى الله عليه وسلم. So I'll read the translation right now. And the king said, "Bring him to me. I will appoint him exclusively for myself." And when he spoke to him, he said, "Indeed, you are today established in position and trusted." Joseph said, "Appoint me over the storehouses of the land. Indeed, I will be a known guardian." And thus we established Joseph in the land to settle therein wherever he willed. We touch with our mercy whom he will, and we do not allow to be lost the reward of those who do good. And the reward of the hereafter is better for those who believe and were fearing Allah. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
Before we get started, I'd just like to ask a small favor. Can you guys just make sure that your phones are silented so we don't have any disruptions during the program? Thank you. Okay. So thank you guys so much for coming out to Ahlul-Bayt Students Association's final event of the semester, the American Vote, Jurists, Lobbying, and Reform. I cannot begin to express how grateful I am to have the opportunity to be up here today. We have quite an exciting event planned for tonight. There will be a question and answer session at the end, so please note down any questions that you may have during the lecture. The screen to your left will have the number posted. You guys can text your questions there whenever you get a chance. However, before we carry on with the night, I would like to take a moment to tell you all about the organization I am honored to be representing tonight. APSA is something very dear to my heart. We work hard to create an environment where everyone is accepted for who they are, regardless of race, religion, or gender. We use the teachings of Islam passed down to us through the family of the Prophet, peace be upon him, to educate the community and free it from prejudice, racism, and discrimination. Our mission is to teach people about Islam, promote social justice, and create an inclusive society. APSA strives to seek justice for those without a voice. All of us here know the horrific state of the world today. Not a day goes by where I don't hear about one injustice after another. Through APSA, I've been granted the opportunity to truly make a difference. It may not seem like much, but we do all that we can to educate the public about how they too can make a difference and give back to the workers' community. Tonight's event will be focusing on the necessity of political engagement throughout history, the significance of political representation, especially in the religion of Islam, as well as the impact of lobbying in order to reform and revolutionize society will be analyzed in detail by our esteemed speakers. In an era of misinformation and falsehood, with the media spewing hatred and deceit, it is vital for us as members of society seeking the greater good to be informed of the decisions we make. We encourage each of you to make a well-thought-out decision before voting. The fate of our nation is in our hands, so each and every educated vote counts. Tonight would not have been possible without the generous donations from Maulana Sayyid Ali Haider Abdi, Profound Aesthetic, Dr. Fahim Alam, Dr. Pervez Hamadani, Dr. Aftab Hussain, Dr. Asad Hussain, Ehsan Jafri, Dr. Manzoor Rizvi, Dr. Waji Rizvi, Dr. Asad Sadek, and Dr. Iqbal Jafri. And I would like to thank our co-sponsors for tonight, Rutgers No More, Women Organizing Against Harassment, and the College Democrats of New Jersey. For our first speaker of the night, I would like to introduce a bright young leader from Southern New Jersey, a voice for anti-corruption and innovative economic development. Alex Law is challenging Congressman Donald Norcross in the Democratic primary. In Alex's community, a political machine run by the Norcross family has stifled opportunity for far too long. Alex is running in this election to give his community the kind of honest leadership it deserves, and to inspire all generations of Democrats through his creative ideas and unshakable passion for progressive values. Alex will be using his experience as a strategy consultant at IBM, his knowledge as a fourth-generation Collinswood Democrat, and his finance education from NYU Stern to champion the community. When Alex brings his innovative ideas and passion to Washington, D.C., he will be the youngest congressman in the United States of America. So please help me in welcoming Alex Law.
Thank you for having me here this evening. It's really an honor to be here at Rutgers speaking with all of you about something that I feel so fundamentally passionate about. And it was something that she said that really spoke to me and about why I'm here, why we're all here. And it's making sure that we stick up for those who do not have a voice. I think that really is going to be the theme of the discussion today. How do we, the people that feel left out of the political process, that feel isolated by the decisions that are made that we don't support, how do we bring people together to make sure that our voice is heard, to make sure that we're not bullied by those special interests, by those who want to do things out of self-interest and greed? And that's what my campaign has been about. So let me introduce myself to you, because I know that I am probably a new face for many of you, as my district is down in South Jersey, Camden County, Gloucester County, down by Philadelphia. I'm excited. I have one of my summer interns here from last summer, so it's great to see Raj. So I decided to run for Congress in a very simple way. Some friends and I were together, and we were looking at what was going on in the world, what our country was doing around the world, what our Congress was failing to do in Washington, the corruption, the graft, the cronyism that was happening in our very community in South Jersey. And we said, you know what? Rather than sit at home and complain about all of the things in the world that we don't like, why don't we get out there and actually do something about it? So we said, okay, we want to do something, how do we do it? And to me, the most important thing you can do is show up. So that's what we did. We made some flyers, not as nice as the ones we have now. We made a website, not as nice as the one we have now. We put together some policy. And we just went out there and started knocking on doors. Me and one or two or three friends knocking on doors, going to farmers markets, handing out literature. And from that very small start, we grew so quickly because of the power of our ideas that I left my job at IBM to focus on this campaign for a full year, full time. We grew so fast that we've had hundreds of volunteers come together to collectively say enough is enough. We've knocked on 50,000 doors in 8 months, made 50,000 phone calls. I've personally walked 1,000 miles in 8 months and knocked on 10,000 doors myself to bring this message of passion and honesty in government to as many people as I possibly can. And to those people who told me we cannot do this, because I don't have a wealthy family, because I didn't have rich people and corporations saying, Alex, we want you to do this. In fact, I'm running against pretty much all of them in South Jersey. Because we didn't have that, they told us we could not. But we said, as long as you have a voice and you have a will to work in this country, you can make a difference and you can change minds. And that's why our campaign has been based on this very simple idea. This idea that Teddy Roosevelt said over 100 years ago, that when we rule ourselves, we have the responsibility of sovereigns, not of subjects. And in this democracy, in this country, I think many people from different communities have felt like subjects to a government making decisions that we do not agree with. Whether around the world with foreign policy, or with how we treat our students by charging them the highest rate of interest of any one of our economic competitors, disincentivizing young people to go to school. Whether it's a myriad of other issues that we care about, in this government, we are sovereigns. And when we bring people together and step forward together and make our voice heard together, we can change things. And that's what we're showing in South Jersey. We're trying to show people around the nation, around the state, that money does not mean everything. Yes, we have cutting-edge data technology. We put together an amazing plan for how we're going to execute everything, and we're as efficient as we possibly can. But that wasn't at the onset. We've learned that by caring about what we're doing, by stepping forward and being a part of that solution. And I think that's very important because so many of us, I know I did, feel apathetic about the size and the scope of the problems and the challenges to fix them and the resources of those working against us. But that apathy cannot allow us to stay home. And it's easy. It's easy to stay home when things feel difficult, when there's tremendous forces working against you. But I'm telling you, you must find something that you believe in, and rather than believe in it from home, believe in it out there and actually do it. It doesn't have to be my campaign. It doesn't have to be another campaign in New Jersey. It could be Bernie Sanders. It could be Hillary Clinton. It could be any one of the presidential candidates. But get involved. Be a part of this democracy. It could be organizing, like I know some people here, putting together a political action group to speak collectively for the community that you represent. But be a part of that solution. Now, for me, personally, when I think about government, when I think about what is the role of government, why are we here talking about it and talking about solutions, I think it's important to speak to the heart of what it is we think government should do. And to me, it comes from something that Robert Kennedy said in 1968. And what he said was, what we need in the United States is not hatred. What we need in the United States is not violence. What we need in the United States is not lawlessness, but love and wisdom and compassion and a sense of justice towards those less fortunate in our country. And to me, that is what our government exists to do. To make sure we are looking out for those less fortunate than us. To make sure that the only thing determining our actions collectively as a society are not greed, but compassion. Making us better as human beings, working together rather than keeping apart. And it's important to think about those philosophical pieces, because when you understand the core of what you represent and what you're trying to do, you will be able to accomplish a tremendous amount more. So I know we have a lot of time at the end for questions, and I think that's absolutely the best way for us to engage and have a conversation about these issues, and I'm looking forward to all of your questions. I think we're going to learn a lot about sort of creative solutions and engagement in politics. But I just want to take this opportunity to say how important rooms like this are. It's easy to say that you care about something, but it's another thing to give up a night during the week when I know all of you are busy, whether with your jobs or your classes or your clubs or your commitments or your personal life. Everyone here has something important to do, but you decided to come here tonight to be a part of this conversation, to be a part of the solution as we move forward to make our society and our government and our country and our community a better place. So I just want to say, take this opportunity to thank all of you for being here, for being a part of this conversation, and that I'm really looking forward to your questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Your desire for knowledge is something that I wish we all possessed. Before we get into the question and answer session for tonight, I'd like to hand it over to Muhammad Reza. He's one of our own and graduated from Rutgers University last year. He's currently at Cooper Medical School of Rowan University and was the former treasurer and external vice president of APSA. Reza continues on to do great things and co-founded the Citizens Against Ignorance Political Action Committee. He's a true revolutionary through and through. I'll let him explain the rest, so please welcome Muhammad Reza.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. First, I'd like to stress that the Q&A portion of this program is the focus. Therefore, we can actually have a dialogue with the speakers and really address the issues most pertinent personally to yourselves. Second, as for Alex Law and his campaign, if you can donate, please do so. And if you are in his voting district, please vote. He's, in my opinion, more or less a 24-year-old version of Bernie Sanders, and one of the rare opportunities for us to truly end corruption in an imperialistic system. Third, there are far too many people to thank for not just this event, but for our Shia community in general. They have built the foundation for literally everything we have today, and we owe so much to them that we can almost never repay. All right, so we talked about the jurists, we talked about the lobbying. Well, I'm here to talk to you about the revolution. For far too long, our community has been united only on issues instead of ideals. If something happens in Bahrain, then we go out and do a rally or protest. If there's a genocide in Pakistan, only then we come out and do something significant. If there is a shooting in San Bernardino, only then do we send out a letter. I don't believe those methods are current. One, because they're done in a very incorrect way. When we do our protests and rallies, we have no media involvement, no political engagement, absolutely no leadership, which is beyond central to our religion of Shia Islam. And ultimately, we have no follow-up. Secondly, when it comes to these methods, what is the end result? Do we ever know? Does anything ever come out of it? Has anything we ever done actually amounted to something? Has any effort we've done changed your life, changed somebody else's life, affected the world around you? No. Therefore, I believe we should be more united on ideals instead of issues. Ideals like justice, ideals like taking back what's ours, reappropriating our rights, fighting for the oppressed, doing the best for the greater good. So, that being said, a few months back, myself, Asin Jaffrey, Asa Sadiq Uncle, and and a few others in this room and many others outside of this room, we decided to form a political action committee. Now, if you don't know what that is, it is essentially a platform and body for engaging in politics, in Congress, federal politics, allowing us to really unite an entire group of people towards one specific cause or any specific cause. Take AIPAC, for example. That's the big Israeli Jewish lobby. Not really Jewish, mostly Israeli, Netanyahu lobby. Because of their unity and because of their pooled resources, they are able to enact immense changes in our country. So I thought, why not fight fire with fire? Let's create a political action committee of our own, unite our community on political issues which are not short-term. San Bernardino is not short-term. Chapel Hill is not short-term. Trump is not short-term, unless he gets elected for 8 years. What we're fighting for is long-term. What we want is a united representative body of Shias in America so that this country, a democratic process, sees Muslims as a body, as a collective vote, as a collective power which can truly influence things domestically and foreign, and on top of that, builds our own community from the inside out. Now, just for the little more depressing portion, what are the barriers for this unity? It's ourselves, it's myself, it's you guys, it's the people in our centers, it's the leaders, it's some leaders in our centers, it's the leaders of organizations. We all scramble for power, climbing on top of each other. For what? For credit? Just because somebody hosts an event and shakes hands with a politician or donates to a charity, does this give you power over other people? No, that doesn't do that. Never have our centers collaborated. Never have our Shias collaborated, with the exception of the Ahlul-Bayt Student Association here, which has gotten Shias and Muslims from every center all throughout New Jersey in one area to actually work together for causes which we never address in our community. I'm talking abortion, I'm talking pedophilia, I'm talking tyranny, I'm talking oppression, I'm talking imperialism, I'm talking every single thing in the book that we are afraid to discuss. This organization, I'm very proud to say, has been a uniting force in this regard. And these are young people that are doing it. And we are taking the example of our elder generations who have been established here. So, let me tell you a little story. My father in Pakistan spent a lifetime fighting the Saudi Salafism backed by US imperialist CIAs. His brother died for that cause 3 years ago. And I'm a product of those two things. And if it weren't for my father's cousin, Dr. Manzoor Rizvi, we wouldn't be alive today to continue fighting this fight. Now, what's the takeaway message? My father taught me that education is what gets you somewhere. Removing your ego, educating yourself, becoming empowered, becoming the best in every field, everywhere you go, that gives us dominance. That is a key to our future. If we're educated, if we're united, if we let go of our egos for 1 second and realize that there's so many people out here willing to help, they're willing to donate money, their time, their intelligence, their knowledge, their wealth, their resources. That's all you need. We don't need attendance. We don't need a crowd. We don't need mass appeal. We want to build our communities, not end them. We want our Muharram and our Matam to revolutionize people. We don't want to bicker over whether to do it in circles or lines. That's not what our religion fought for. Rather, What we fought for was something greater than just the Shia Muslims. We fought for the Ahl Sunnah. We fought for the Jews. We fought for the Christians. We fought for the atheists. We fought for the blacks. It doesn't matter who it is. That is what a Muslim does. That is what a Muslim can do, and that is what you can do. Some of the most talented, influential, and intelligent people are in this very room today. With this combined pool of resources, there is an unlimitless possibilities that we can enact. I refuse to believe that our community will continue to decline. I refuse to believe that we'll stay. With this political action committee, it is a first stepping stone which can trickle down. If we're united politically, perhaps we can unite our centers socially. We can use that as a larger platform for building our community on the inside, helping others, helping people who've been outcasted, etc., and so forth. All in all, I would like to say that wherever may we be headed, whenever our Imam and Jesus return, we cannot change our fate. We can, however, rise to meet it. That is what you call a revolution. Good night and good luck.
Thank you so much, Rosa, for that truly unforgettable message. I hope you all didn't forget about spoken word. So I would now like to call up Zara Muhammad. She's a freshman at the University of Pennsylvania, the winner of the National Muslim Interscholastic Tournament of Spoken Word. She is of Iraqi descent and recites poetry all over the country. We absolutely love having her here, so please help me in welcoming Zara Muhammad.
Firstly, I'm really sorry that I'm late. But God has things planned for you. So on my way here, I took an Uber, and then a complication happened, so I just switched to another Uber ride. And when that happened, I realized that the guy that was driving it, his legs were basically cut off up until his knees, and I was so caught up in being late and whatnot that I completely missed the fact that there was a wheelchair right next to me. And then just hearing him talk, he was telling me about his story. He was like, education is the only thing that won't get taken from you, right? And then just as I was sitting there listening to Nakshawani speak, he was saying that one day you're not going to have a voice. Right now you have a voice. Use it. This is what this man was essentially teaching me. That he was like, one day, I never thought that I would get into an accident and lose my legs, but here I am. So you never know essentially when you're going to lose something that you have every single day. So this poem is written to basically follow up Reza's full speech. So, 1788, 1920, 1931, 1965, 1971, 2016. George Washington. In 1788, our first president was elected. I once read an excerpt of a poem on the status of woman. A boy asking his father, "Father, what is legislature?" A representative body elected by the people of the state. "Father, are women people?" "No, my son, criminals, lunatics, and women are not people." "Father, do legislators legislate for nothing?" "Oh no, they are paid a salary." "By whom?" "By the people." "Father, are women people?" "Of course, my son, just as much as men are." "Of course, my son, just as much as men are. In 1920, women gained the right to sterilize a stereotype. I once read an excerpt of the Epic of America. The Epic of America. In 1931, the American dream was coined by Adams in his book, The Epic of America. I once read an excerpt of an enslaved black child, no older than 12 years. He said, "My vote, my freedom. My vote, my freedom? My freedom, actually, is me being mentally trapped, me worrying about you worrying about me while I'm in the street, or having the prevailing thought of my own demise unveiling and prevalence in a systematic society that fails to unveil me or my vote to be so. How am I to last when there is no vote to cast? How am I to last when there is no vote to cast?" In 1965, universal voting for anyone over the age of 21 was ratified. Anyone. I once read an excerpt of World War II from Isaac Asimov. The chemist and pioneer of atomic theory, John Dalton, his records that were once carefully preserved for a century were destroyed during World War II bombing of Manchester. It is not only the living who are killed in war. It is not only the living who are killed in war. In 1971, the voting age dropped from the age of 21 to 18 in light of the war. Because if you could die for your country, you should choose what you die for. I once read an excerpt of the Epic of America. The Epic of America. In 1931, the American dream was coined by Adams in his book. In 2016, the American dream was critiqued by us in our book. The American dream is made of quicksand. The harder you fight, the further you're buried, sinking below a prison complex that uses 4th grade reading scores to project the number of cells needed 10 years later. Someone explained the difference between convicts in the prisons and victims of the system. Something is missing. The commissioner is using people as commission. Capitalism is like a fisherman that keeps you coming back to the lake, keeps at least a quarter of the population hungry, work to devour your check, then tax half the fish you get. Not recognizing the pennies under our feet when we walk, like Lincoln was just a stepping stone towards freedom. How ironic that we put his face on the only coin with colored skin when white America did not prosper until it was colored in. The American dream is my breath stretching over oceans, trying so hard not to forget my homeland. The American dream is being black and poor in Virginia and confused about the term Commonwealth. The American dream is being born wrapped into a star-spangled banner with a red hole through it. The American dream is teaching in a school with more barricades than books, building a wall where we're all bricklayers for the same idea, but I've learned the price for having an ocean on your tongue, because even when you have all of your papers, the trigger of a country that wants to cut you out will always win when it shoots. This is the fruit of our founding fathers. But this is not the roots. Remember that the Declaration of Independence is dependent on race and gender. We all breathe the same. We must make dream catchers of our hands, weaving our fingers like baskets of prayer. Our actions are the only way our dreams will live. A vote is only as good as the voice behind it, but what worth is a voice that pleads the fifth? What word is a voice that pleads the fifth? Whether it's presidents or pain, being content is like taking naps in your own grave. The American dream is struggling. The American struggle is dreaming. The struggling American dream understands when the security is a lot more political than it is social. Whom you are will always clash with whom a society reckons of you. Wishing for white picket flesh while living with Section 8 bones on the wasteland of the free, home of the brave, hand over your heart like a smallpox blanket. Whom you are will always clash with whom as society reckons of you. So either conform to the social norm or reform the political form. Change or be changed. Vote or be voted for. The American dream is institution. It is immigrant experience or experience immigration. People are more concerned about students being documented than they are about them being human. From Arizona's SB 1070 to New York's stop and frisk, turn back and ask America, show us your papers. Who documented your dreams? Realize it was the work of our own very hands. And how we decide to shape this world is the deciding difference between whether we drown or whether we dream. And when we finally reach the surface, that will be America's greatest nightmare.
First, I want to thank both our speakers, Alex Law, Dr. Ammar Nakshawani, our poet Zahra Muhammad, and a great friend of mine, Mohammad Reza, for making this event possible, along with the entire ABSA board. So would everyone please give them a round of applause. I was also just informed that one of ABSA's very own members, Mustafa Jaffrey, was elected to represent the School of Arts and Sciences as the senator of the entire school, representing Muslims and non-Muslims alike. So please give him a round of applause. America, the land of the free and the home of the brave. This nation, one that you and I are citizens of, was built on the following words. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. If the beginning of the Constitution wasn't enough, every child in America grew up reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. And what were the last two words of the Pledge of Allegiance? With liberty and justice for all. Our nation was built on some of the most sound values, as you just heard. Not to mention that these values align with Islam. But are we still that same country? What is the fate of a nation when those in power are concerned with self-serving profit at the cost of society or encouraging violence and prejudice in pursuit of personal power? When people are ignoring real issues like corruption, greed, murder, poverty, education, and are instead talking about a $1 billion wall to separate us from our neighbors because they're supposedly a country comprised of killers and rapists, or proposing surveillance of US Muslims. Are we really making America great again, or are we running our country into the ground? We pride ourselves as being the greatest nation in the world, but instead the whole world is laughing at us. So it's about time that we, the general public, rise up and do something to change that. If we've learned anything from the history of this country, voting is a privilege and our right. So exercise your right to vote in all elections, from primary to presidential to congressional to even your local school election. This year at Rutgers, 14.45% of the student body voted in the RUSA election. That was apparently the highest percentage ever. But is that really something to be proud of? 14.45%. Let me put it this way. To all the students in the room, how would you feel if you got 14.45% on a final exam? Or actually, let's make that percentage 57.5%, and that was the voter participation in the 2012 presidential election. You'd be thinking about how your GPA is ever going to recover from both of these numbers. In the same way these numbers feel like a failure to us as students, they should be seen as failures to the American democracy. So please, I encourage you all to vote in the presidential election, and every election for that matter, because trust me, your vote counts. And don't underestimate the power of the common man. We shouldn't be waking up every 4 years just for the presidential election. Senators, House of Representatives, even our very own student government matter, and they affect our daily lives. So go outside and get registered to vote if you already haven't. Vote in the primaries, vote in the presidential election, vote in the congressional election, and vote in every single election. That is the first of many steps you've heard about tonight. This event was titled The American Vote, Jurists, Lobbying, and Revolution. You heard about what the jurists had to say, and you learned about lobbying. This, everyone, is the beginning of the revolution. Thank you.